This is Colette Shewcraft in 1984, singing an original tune at the Bakersfield Women's Music Festival. For episode 20 of the San Joaquin Sound podcast, I interviewed Colette along with Sylvia Sims and Gloria Dumler, who all had different roles in the festival. As a content warning, this episode discusses instances of murder, police brutality, assault, and self-harm.
If you don't, then you're lying. Not to me, but to you. Not to me, but to you. Not to me, but to you.
So let's start and talk a little bit about growing up in Bakersfield and the other places you might have grown up. And please introduce yourself.
My name's Colette Shewcraft. I was born in Delano and then just kind of followed my dad around. You know, he moved us to a lot of places, San Francisco, to Larry, back up to Woody, where he owned a bar where I began my musical career when I was 3. And then we came back to Glenville in 1964, and where I went to North High for 1 year and graduated.
So I know your dad, Monty, played trumpet, piano, guitar, ukulele, and he wrote his own songs. Was he the one who taught you how to play guitar?
Actually, no. Not until I graduated and I was living with my grandmother in Delano, and I was so friggin' bored. I saw a guitar hanging on the wall, and she says, that's your great Aunt Mart's. And I said, well, can I get it down and play it? And she said, yeah. So in my little bedroom, I just plucked young blood, 2 strings. I wrote a whole song with 2 strings. And then I taught myself. And then, of course, I'd ask him, show me a chord. But I'm totally self-taught.
That's awesome.
And which is very evident when I play with a band.
Can you tell me about performing at the Blackboard?
Oh, yeah. It's funny because I was just thinking about that day. I have a trophy that I won there with Bill Woods and singing Help Me Make It Through the Night.
I'll be damned.
And I used to go there and dance and sing. I would sing along with the band, like stand below the stage and sing with them type of thing, and play poker in one little stuffy back room. Took more money off of me before I knew how to play, but thought I knew everything about poker. And then I thought, why not sing other places? When I was 18, I moved to Colorado Springs, and one of the ways that I made money was just walking in a bar, sitting down, putting a tip jar up, and asked the guy, can I play some tunes? Yeah, I started doing fairs, then the bars around here, and then I had a band, and we would play all in with the band. So music's been a huge part of my life, plus writing my own music, which, you know, is really cathartic, to say the least. I had teachers that called me up and said, could you come into my class and teach people about writing music, singing and writing music? I enjoyed doing that. I enjoy teaching.
That's awesome.
I've done a lot of that, too. But I've been in a lot of phases. Native American phase when I found out I was Indian or part Indian. I'm a very creative person.
Yeah, so you played the Native American flute, too.
Yeah, play the Native American flute.
Beautifully. Ugh, gorgeous.
I'm Gloria Dumler, and I grew up in Bakersfield. And I was very lucky in that I was a very shy bookworm when I was young. I also loved old movies. But when you are a reading addict, you know a lot more about the big world, a lot more than just Bakersfield. And I think reading authors from all over the place sort of broadened my horizons. I really wasn't, I think, cursed by being in Bakersfield and having only that to experience. In fact, I can remember in high school discovering a book by James Baldwin an acclaimed Black author, a gay man. It was called Giovanni's Room. I have no idea how I stumbled across it, but it was brilliant, and it was the first novel I ever read about gay people. It wasn't until later that I found out that Baldwin himself was gay and that he was Black, because everybody in the novel is white. And I think he made that choice because he wanted the focus to be on the lives of these men. But that was world-opening to me, and so on. And in high school, I made two very close friends who were very open-minded. And that's when I began to realize that I was capable of developing crushes on girls as well as boys. And they were very accepting of this. And so in a sense, I didn't have to go through a lot of the crap that a lot of people of this identity do have to go to in Bakersfield. But again, like I said, compared to a lot of people, my Bakersfield childhood was lucky.
I know that you maybe don't play an instrument or sing, but I did see that you did ballet.
Oh,
and that's
yes,
musical,
I did.
right?
Yeah, I loved ballet. I absolutely adored it. I had the most wonderful teacher in the world, Roberta. She was marvelous. And they incorporated not just ballet, but acrobatics and tap dance. I loved it.
That's great.
So, yeah, I could listen to music and follow.
Yeah,
I've
Gloria
never
was a
been able to
promoter,
sing.
a supporter, and a fan of all of us,
Yeah,
and a teacher.
yeah, that
And a
was my main
guide.
contribution.
So she had her a different kind of music that she played.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And she wrote, and she published newspapers, and
Yeah,
we
gay
got a
community
lot of
news.
information out because of Gloria.
When the internet was not the primary mode of communication about everything, I did an actual print newsletter called the Gay Community News. And I love the fact that the Kern County Library happily would display copies that I would drop off and so on. So there was a lot of support in the community.
That's good.
Well, I'm the outlander from these two because I'm not from California. My name is Sylvia Sims, and I grew up in southern Ohio near the Mason-Dixon line. So when I finally came here, it was all kind of familiar. I had hoped it was going to be different, but it wasn't. So I went to school in Ohio, in Illinois, and in Indiana, and I finished my education at Miami University in Ohio, and then I came to teach in Bakersfield in 1968 with my then girlfriend, but we were definitely not out to even ourselves because we didn't even know what the word gay or homosexual was really referring to, that it was referring to us. And when we got TV and looked on at the Stonewall Rebellion in New York, and we looked at each other and said, look at those people. They look kind of strange because I'm from Ohio. When I saw the hippies, asking for bread on the street or in the mountains in their togas and their sheets or whatever they were wearing and their long hair, I said, where did these people come from? I had no idea. So I had a lot of growing up to do from my own brand of naivete. And that was kind of my first inkling that I was not like everybody else. No wonder I wasn't interested in dating boys. So I came to California to teach Spanish, and I taught at North High. And then I went to South High. And then after Stonewall, in about 1976, I had gone to Portland to visit a friend. And at that juncture, she took me to this MCC church where they were singing, and they were all open about being gay, and my family had an evangelical background. My grandpa was a Methodist minister back in West Virginia, and he would travel all around, and he was a hellfire and brimstone kind of guy who, I even saw him once, got red in the face and passed out in the pulpit. So you know what kind of background that was, but I grew up Methodist, but not that brand. And so when I got involved with the MCC in Portland, I went, oh my goodness, these are lots of gay people, and they're so happy, and they sing, and wouldn't that be lovely? So I got back to Bakersfield and made a few phone calls and got in touch with somebody from the bars. Her name was Lou Talley, and
Oh my God!
and
Lou
we
Talley.
made the phone call down to L.A. and got in touch with Troy Perry and Bob Arthur, who were rather up in the administration of the MCC Church, Metropolitan Community Church. And they started sending a pastor, and that was in 1978, I think. And he would come, we met in the living room in Oildale, down the street from where Colette and Gloria were. I had no idea. And then we heard about this group that was having a consciousness raising and rap group. So that was at Colette's house on Francis Street, and we took our little group and went down there and met with them, and that was actually the beginning of a great experience with the most fabulous people, and some not as fabulous as others, but by and large, they were wonderful human beings who were struggling with being gay, and from there we grew, we had a church, and it met in a birdhouse. They sold birds. And so we actually over on Alta Vista, and then we got evicted from that because the fellow who was renting us this place to meet on Sunday didn't tell his landlord that we were there, and so he had to leave, and we stayed. He got evicted, and then we moved across the alley to what had been a warehouse for a clothing store up that was nearby, and we renovated that, and then we were meeting there until the early 2000. So
The mingling of that group that met at my house also created went on with MCC
yes,
with you.
yes, it was a great mingling of all these different people with different interests, and we supported each other. And that's from MCC. The Bakersfield Women's Group started meeting on, I think it was Tuesday nights in the 80s, 81 or 82. 82, I think. And that was led by Julia Avatar and Carol Ayer. So that's where I came into the 80s, and that's my background. And I was still teaching, and I was still in the closet until I got my face in the paper a few times. And well, that was that.
In the interim, I accidentally got married and had a couple of kids. And so there was coming out with them in the picture was a difficult dilemma. But they've adapted very well so far. And I have 6 great grandchildren now. So that was, of course, this was all in the early 70s. I was playing at Michael's, which is I don't know, it looks like a bank. It probably was a bank, but they cleaned it up down there. It's on the corner of Chester and 18th. And they had a real nice little bar upstairs, and I was a respiratory therapist. And before I went to work, I did a couple of sets at Michael's. And they had a restaurant back then. It was an Oriental restaurant, but the girls had to wear tuxes. The women tuxes, very low cut.
Very
Very
short
sexy.
shorts. Yeah.
And this woman would come in, and she'd listen to me, and she would just, just adoringly, and I had kind of suspected that I was gay from the time I was in 3rd grade, but I was strong Catholic. I went to be a nun. Anyway, so I had a real strong religious background, real strong Catholic family. So this just was not in the Catholic religion. So she came up to me and she said, "Are you gay?" And I said, "No, I'm Colette." That's how naive I was. And she said, "Can I take you someplace after work?" I said, "Okay," because I didn't have to go to the hospital that night. So she took me around the corner, down the street, took me down those stairs, and I just wept.
The Cellar.
I mean, I'm
yes.
thinking about it now. I'm emotional, but I wept.
At the
And
Cellar.
I'm fucking home.
Yeah. I loved those days. I loved that. That was probably my favorite place in town those days because it was so friendly and open. When I used to work my exalted job as a sales girl at Broadway and Brock's and things like that, and often have a night shift on the way home to that little studio apartment I rented on Francis Street. But I could drop in there and feel completely welcome even when there were only guys there. It was a very open, fun place. I dance a while. I enjoyed talking to people. And of course, I liked it when women were there too. But those were really good days as far as that social area was.
And back then, right, in Bakersfield, bars were the only place to socialize for gay people, right? That you could go out and meet other gay people?
Yeah, unless it was something like... well, obviously parties where people knew each other, but the only place to go, as it were, and meet new people.
Well, MCC also worked at opening up our welcome to have different events. We had Colette helped with coffee houses, and then we'd have parties, and we'd have a lot of dancing and a lot of fun. We laughed a lot.
A lot of videos of that.
Another thing I want people to understand is like what it was like to be gay in Bakersfield too, because you're doing all this activism that really matters, but it's in contrast to like what the police is doing, right?
Yes, I remember that the Cellar got raided several times, and people were attacked by the police and
Mostly gay men.
Gay men, outside the bar at the late hours of the night. That would have been in the 80s. Then we had the Tyak murders, the men that got stranded on the road.
And a man named Tyak shot both of them.
He was a
One of them,
tire
I think,
salesman.
In the back, both of them.
Well, one of them I think was shot twice in the front, then twice in the back, and the other in the back, and he was acquitted.
It was acquitted.
Self-defense.
Yep.
Yeah, that was in the 80s, and that was one of our first protests that I was involved in.
I believe he did get convicted of maybe one or two misdemeanors, but not murder, first degree or second degree. He was forbidden to own guns after that, but when police a few years later did a raid and found a whole bunch of guns and confiscated them, I remember somebody in the Californian writing that, well, the 3 strikes law, he'll have to go back to prison, not realizing that that was not a third strike.
No, he had no conviction. It was considered self-defense, even though these gay boys or young men were unarmed.
That pretty much pissed a lot of us off.
Oh, very much
and it
so.
scared a lot of us. But
yeah, they were.
It scared us so much that we wanted to prevent it somehow.
Yeah, nobody was around. They were up in outside of Bakersfield. These 2 young men were planning on doing a gay dude ranch, and Tyak ran into the back of their vehicle.
I was living at the time,
gotcha. Ran in the back of their vehicle, claiming that it was an accident. And I can remember a friend of mine who was a fireman was out there going, it was uphill. He had to have done it deliberately. And of course, he had guns, and he was going, I was terrified. And there used to be something called, homosexual panic, that was used as an excuse. If a person was confronted by a homosexual, it's the equivalent of what some white people do. Oh, that black person looked terrifying, or was at my door. Yeah. So yeah, Tyak got away with it, but I did notice that even among straight people, there were a lot of people who were pretty damn horrified that with a murder this obvious, this cold-blooded, that he had gotten away with this. So it helped shift things in a good direction too, in some ways for some people. It kind of made people realize what a double standard is, putting it mildly.
Yes, for law enforcement.
Well, when I first came out after my excursion down at the Cellar, and then that's when I, started trying to find like-minded people. I used to go to the zoo, and the police would be there like right at 2 o'clock, 2 a.m., and they'd wait for you to come out, and they'd wait for you to get in your car, and then they'd wait for you to back up and then drive off. And then they'd pull you over and arrest you for drunk driving. And so they baited you They harassed you at the bar and, would say things to you to try and make you get mad at them and hit them, and then they could arrest you. They were aggravating and harassing like that. But it made most of us angrier, I think. That just made us angrier, and then we would take precautions. And I think we were probably the first ones that decided designated drivers, because they couldn't arrest you if you hadn't been drinking. So we started with designated drivers and having more parties at home. At my house.
Great place. And within walking distance for me for a long time.
But yeah, it was scary. And I still don't really trust cops for a lot of reasons, but I think somewhere in the marrow, we still have that fear that somebody is gonna see you, and beat you up because you're gay. I had a cross burned on my lawn. They poisoned my dog. And when I say not a cross, that they just burnt into my lawn a cross, and then of course poisoned my dog Lassie, and it was shit like that.
When I was in the Gay Straight Alliance at Cal State, I had to change my number unlisted because I would get obscene phone calls, harassing phone calls in the middle of the night. I would often come out to my car with nasty little notes like "Kill all queers." Yeah. And it occurred to me one day to go to the Cal State Police Department and show them the letter and report it as a hate crime. And because it occurred to me, they should be keeping statistics. And I remember the young man telling me, well, there's nothing we can do about it. I said, I know. I don't know who did this, but I want you to keep track. And I'm going to start encouraging my friends to let you guys know. I don't know if they kept track of it as a hate crime, but I remember having this duh moment to myself. Why hadn't I been reporting these things? Yeah. The answer, because I didn't particularly assume anybody would do anything about it.
And Gloria, in the 70s, I read so much about activism you were doing because you were the head of the Bakersfield chapter of the NOW Organization for Women that we talked about. You started a hotline for anti-rape.
We did. Now
one,
did.
Right?
I was one of them. I was on it, on the board, and one of the volunteers.
And I saw you were working with the Red Cross, the United Way. You're educating people about sexuality. You're fighting for the ERA, for pro-choice, all these things and more that I saw that you were mentioning.
You started a gay hotline too.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah, because I volunteered for that, and we met in, I don't know, all over the place. But had got that funded, and so kids could call in, because I worked at the hospital at a respiratory therapist at KMC, and a kid came in, and his face was blown off, and this is part of my job. But I remember rushing in and getting my bag, my ABU bag, and doing all the things that I do as an RT. And I looked down, and there was this great big note on his chest that said, "Tell Mom and Dad I'm gay." And I think that's what fired me up. I went, no, this is stupid. This is stupid, killing yourself because you're gay.
Yeah. For me, a lot of my activism was, in those days, I had great jobs like working in department stores. What gave my life that sense of meaning was all of this activism. Because frankly, even in my 20s there I was thinking, I'm not sure what I want to be when I grow up. So I really, really enjoyed the activism and so on. And then by the end of the 70s, I'm thinking, I should probably also, it was probably more like 1980, go back to school, get a degree, and figure out what I want to do with my life. And I'm a professor now.
So we talked about the gay rap group that started in your house, Colette, and that it was all of you along with Nancy Bailey, Frances Sarah, and others. And how did that group that was doing all this activism and community, how did that group get the idea for the Bakersfield Women's Music Festival?
We had been attending this music festival up in Yosemite. The Women's Music Festival. And this was put on by Robin Tyler. This is the 7th annual, and that was in 1986.
Yes,
But
and
79. We've been, and so, I remember just thinking we could do this on a smaller scale. We don't have to, do this as big. It was huge, and this came out of Michigan's Women's Music Festival, the California Festival,
and it was up near
we
Tuolumne.
And that sounds like a great idea because so many of us sang and entertained and had some kind of talent, and so that's how I remember it. What do you think?
Well, I wasn't really a part of all the activism going on to start the music. I remember I had all these other obligations plus MCC, and I was on the board of that church.
And that was a big one. She was
and
Mother
since
MCC.
From 78 up until 2014, I think I was only off the board for about 3 months when I had a little tete-a-tete with the pastor, and I didn't want to meet in the birdhouse with the birds. So what I remember is the Women's Music Festival, or Bakersfield Women, started this music festival idea in the 83, I think, and got groups together. They got a group together to start planning this, and it didn't happen at the rap group.
So you had no experience running a music festival, I think. So what was it like trying to get all these bands together and groups together to play?
Well, I did most of that the first time. I don't know who did it the second time, but I said, this is the stuff I'd like to see, and they would vote on it. Yes, no, we'd talk about it, type of thing, and we decided to have food. And Jill Linehart said, I'll do the food, okay. So I just kind of let her be in charge of it. Delegate. And then the same way with the women's things, the booths and stuff that we had. I want anybody volunteer to be in charge of that. Call them, tell them what the date is, what we'd like for them, and would they like to join us. And we will be splitting all of the proceeds, money among all those groups. And then the music lineup I called people and told them what was going on, and they agreed to play or not. But no, I don't think anybody really turned me down unless they couldn't do it for scheduling reasons. I mean, everybody thought it was a great idea, and especially the women's booths.
So where was it held? The first one was held in the Veterans Hall?
Yeah, yeah. In Oildale, of all places. That was when Oildale, you couldn't even be brown, let alone black.
So we talked about how the planning. How did it go? What are your memories of the day?
Well, I did an opening video and having my I don't know, it was a cute little joggy thing I did, and then look at the Bakersfield Women's Festival. Music. Yeah, let's go. Let's look, Anthony. And then when we first went on, I had him and another guy, and I was all like makeup and everything, like I'd been beat up, And I goes, nothing's keeping me from the Bakersfield Women's Music Festival. Not you, not anybody. So it was kind of a little skit, and then I, of course, emceed. But some women from L.A. came up and gave me a whole rash of shit about promoting violence on women from that skit.
Oh, I never heard that.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, and they were just, we want our money back. But they came up from L.A. to Bakersfield.
Wow.
Because they'd heard about it.
That's pretty good.
They didn't like it, but they came.
So, Sylvia, you performed, and Colette, you both performed at the festival with
Yes.
your own songs, right?
Not her. I did.
She
yeah.
did her own songs, and
Well, except for that one I did with my dad.
I just remember being nervous and frightened that being in front of all those people, that it all was a blur. I don't know. It was liberating because of the whole experience. I mean, I'd been to the West Coast Women's Music Festival, the one Robin Tyler put on, and that was huge, and it really helped because usually Tracy and I performed at the coffee houses at the church, and sometimes we'd sing somewhere where there was a gathering, and so that was our first. I think that was the first time, and we later performed. Was it for Robin Tyler? It was not Robin Tyler. Robin Flower. It was one of the concerts, and that was the next year we opened. We opened for them, and we were out at Cal State, and that was terrifying. That was terrifying, but it was all good. It was all good. And then in '85, when we were better prepared for being in front of that many people, and I remember
84.
I'm going to '85. I'm going to the next year because we were on twice. Yeah.
I don't even remember this.
No, because, things were different. Every year was different. And so I was on my way, had taken a class, and I was going to Mexico for a follow-up on a class on kinship and with my anthropology, sociology professor. And so I was on my way from that performance to travel in '85. So it was exciting. I loved it, but it was I didn't get to immerse myself as much because I had to leave and go on this.
Who was in charge
of the trip?
No, of the festival.
I don't remember.
Do you remember any other talent?
Are you talking about year 2?
85.
Year 2,
yeah.
85.
Yeah.
No,
So-
I do not.
So it didn't say who was in charge of the festival, but it said that the country group Escape, formerly named Reds, Debbie Watson and Linda Lee, magician Paul Nathan and Corky Mena.
Jackie Patton was involved, a treasurer of the Bakersfield Women.
Yeah, basically, we were the beginning of the gay movement. I mean, and then we along with Nancy, who was...
Nancy Bailey.
She was the one that would stir up shit and then stand back and let everybody do. But she was so smart and so... she ran for mayor.
I remember
Wow.
when she ran for, and I think she got 25% of the vote. It was amazing. But I remember a story she told me. They would go, door to door. In fact, I did that with her a couple times, but this was a time I wasn't there. And she talked about how a woman answered the door, recognized her, and said that her husband had been on the TIAC jury. And she made him come up and apologize to her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nancy
and
was
she's-
a professor at Cal State.
Yes, yeah.
Also.
Yeah, and she was our advisor at Gay Straight Alliance.
Yes.
And and she was a wonderful, wonderful human being. Wonderful. But yeah, that story really meant a lot to her, and it meant a lot to all of us who heard it. That at least one person realized that he had made the wrong choice.
Yes, and kind of a reflection on the 25% vote. I mean, it was disappointing. I was hoping she would have done better. I didn't think she'd win. But she always said, anything worth doing is worth doing, even if you're not going to be doing it to win, or it turns out it was done poorly.
Badly. Everything's worth doing, even if you do it badly.
And we felt like we didn't have to be perfectionists because she gave us permission to do things that were difficult, and there was no precedent. There was no history, and we would do it anyway. And we'd think, well, Bailey says.
Yeah. And she was such a charming, charismatic person. And her bringing these issues into such a huge public view, I thought was amazing. And again, I thought that, I don't know exactly 25%, but something in that area, 23, 24, I don't know. But that she got that much in Bakersfield, California, was wow.
one of the remarkable things I think about the group that we're talking about started getting together in the late 80s, 70s, and early 80s. And that lasted, that we became dear, dear friends, as well as activists. And we learned so much from each other. And we got involved in so much together. And there were people from all walks of life. We had the brilliant, we had the not so brilliant, we had the talented and the not so talented, and everybody who found a place.
And the mentally ill.
Oh, well, we had those too. Oh, dear. that was that was
We
heartbreaking.
welcomed everybody.
But we welcomed everybody, and we did the best with some people who were not very functional. But there was a place for them, and
The MCC was just as important, if not more, than the bars at that time, because that was a place you could go and meet people, you know.
Yeah.
And then it was real. Most people didn't go because it was real religious, sat in pews, had a minister, you know, that whole thing, that churches that they came out of where they had been shamed, you know.
Yeah.
So then they made a shift. I don't know.
1988, 89.
Yeah, they made this shift where we're gonna preach to ourselves.
We're going to run the church without a minister. We don't need one. We have a board of directors. We have all the organizational tools that we need. And if we don't have them, we know how to get them. And so we started on our own, and we ran basically by consensus. And that sounds like it's impossible, but it was not. If somebody really objected to something, we said there must be a reason. Let's look at the reason and come to a middle of the road. And so,
But when that shift happened, more people came, or even if they came for just every once in a while, you know, they still would come, and it was great, till we absolutely had to fold because the community didn't need us anymore.
after gay marriage passed, and the churches began to be even more welcoming. There were a couple who were welcoming, the Unitarians, the Unities, and the Congregational Church over on
Where PFLAG is, yeah.
where PFLAG meets over off of Stockdale Highway, Brundage. They more and more congregations who were not just basically liberal-minded started to open their doors. Even the Episcopals, they started first, and they split their church over the people who were accepting of gays in their church and those who weren't. So that church split over that issue, and it wasn't the first one, but there were many, many people who were starting to be accepted and eventually celebrated, which we had been a voice calling in the wilderness. We had our doors open for support, and then as gay marriage became more accepted and people became more accepted about coming out, then we weren't as needed. And that became from about 2008 to 2014. That's when we
dwindled down to like 5 people, and all of them were on the board, and all of us supporting the church, and we were renting a space, and you know, so yeah, that was a sad day, but you know, we knew it was coming.
It's good that you were able to see a lot of acceptance happen, and that being the reason. It's like a bittersweet reason.
Yes, it was bittersweet. And
But we had a lot of damn fun. Our parties were fun. Really fun.
yes, they were. We had
And we're all recovering alcoholics from it. Well, except for you.
Except for me.
But Gloria and I are. But we used to charge $5 to get into a party, and all you could drink and eat. And
Wow.
And I mean, you know, and I could
That's
easily.
when $5 was a lot more money than it is today.
But we had really good social connecting parties.
And we gave money to different organizations who were in need, like
Every month, yeah.
Audrey Chavez,
Yeah, she was in
Ricky's Retreat.
Ricky's Retreat, yeah.
And we also gave money.
Another big activist in town.
Yeah.
Yes, we've been friends for a very long time. She's been very supportive, and we've been very supportive of all of her outreach. It's been wonderful.
So we talked about both years of the festival, and after the festival, you were still doing activism. Like I read about the Bad Apple campaign. Can you tell me about that?
That's Colette.
Yes. There was a DJ here in town on Cuz Radio, and he was Donna Douglas called me, and she said, "Have you heard this jerk on Cuz? He's telling gay jokes, bad gay jokes, Colette." She goes, "I just hate him." So she would be calling in, because he had a call-in show too, and he was just mean and nasty to her, you know. So I don't know where the idea came from, except one bad apple can spoil the barrel type of thing. And so I got together a group of people, and I said, let's get this guy off the air. And how we did that was call their advertisers. We called every one of their advertisers and said, "Do you and we taped his jokes, played it a little, played them for him. And they went, "Oh my God, this is horrible." So they would cancel their commercials with him. And finally they fired him. Except I had one person tell me to fuck off. And that was that ham place in town. Honey Hams.
Honey baked hams.
That's it. And he says, "You know what? I'm all for the guy. Go fuck yourself," and hung up on me. But other than that, everybody else.
And they weren't just gay jokes. They were really nasty jokes about killing gay people and
Yes.
stuff, right? Really, really violent
Yes,
stuff.
and
Nasty
he
stuff.
called up. He said, "All right, you guys, you hop in your pickups and bring your guns and come down here to the parking lot because the lesbians are coming to kill me." We never threatened his life. No. People lied about that old stuff all the time. We never threatened him life. We weren't that kind of group. We were doing it all politically and you know. So he just said, "Come on, you guys, come on down, help me out." You know. Well, Donna and I snuck down there early, parked across the street in another parking lot. Not one pickup showed up. Not one person showed up to support him. And it was shortly after that after he made that call to come out and kill the lesbians, that he was fired.
Good job, Colette.
I know. Donna and I, we worked that one hard.
Well, that was another
good.
day. Donna Douglas, and we've lost her in 2015. Well, 14, the end of 2014.
Did you help organize the first Pride at the Liberty Bell?
I don't think so, but I did speak at a lot of them.
I think it was Arlene Ackerman.
I sang at a lot of them. Could have been, yeah.
It was, because she was trying to get me to go, and I was too scared still. I remember first Liberty Bell, there was a big, talk to all of us that we should go support the first gay pride at the Liberty Bell, and I went, I'm a teacher. I don't think I've got enough chutzpah yet to go.
Yeah.
And I've felt very bad about it. So it's very much in my mind. And it was after TIAC that this started, after the TIAC debacle.
That makes sense. Arlene was the minister at MCC.
Yeah.
Wow.
Reverend
Arlene
Ackerman.
yeah.
Arlene Ackerman. And she was there till 85. We were meeting at the Liberty Bell. Every year we started meeting at the Liberty Bell and having speeches and talking. We had different speakers who represented different groups, and they would volunteer. And then we got some honks, and we got a lot of raspberries too. People going by when they figured out, we had a gay pride. We eventually got flags and
But we had gay rights signs.
gay
even
rights
before the
signs
flags.
and so on. But a friend of mine who is also a lesbian, and she was so frightened to go to the Liberty Bell, but she couldn't keep herself away. So she went, put a bag on her head, and said, "My head is in the closet, but my feet are gay."
So we did that every June, in the middle of June, at 104 degrees. And then finally somebody said, "Let's move this." Even though June is Pride Month, we moved it into a temperature that we could handle. I think we backed it up into May or,
Yeah.
early May or something.
We did.
And then from there, really took that movement and blew it up. She started having these big at the Bakersfield Museum of Art, and it was all nice and fenced. But we that's where we were. A lot of people had gay pride there, and she had gay pride there. And then she moved to Stramler Park, even bigger, and that's I think they're still doing it there.
They're not. No one's doing it
No
now.
one's doing it anywhere. Whitney left town, so
Oh, yeah. I saw a lot of pride things.
we've never been given any credit from those groups what we started.
How about we talk about the fight for marriage equality, right? Because you did a lot of protests with that, also at the Liberty Bell.
Yes.
And in Sacramento and in Fresno.
And
Yeah.
on Stockdale Avenue, because I can remember Stockdale, California.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, California and Stockdale standing there in what we called the right-wing line of fire because they were on one side of the street screaming. And that reverend, what's his name? There was a reverend from a fundamentalist church who led it. And on the one side, and we were on the other, and with
We
our
also had a
signs.
school board member that came across the street and hit one of the kids.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name either. Well, he
I
said we
blanked.
stole one of their signs, and he came across to get it, and he decked that kid. But but we didn't.
No.
But he'd been giving us a bad time in the school board meetings.
Oh, yes.
They've been trying to get 10 Commandments and Bibles in our schools here for a really, really, really long time. And we have a man named John Hart now who is actively going to all of these school board meetings and writing about it and reporting to all of us. And he goes around town wearing T-shirts, and they're anti-MAGA, anti-Trump, anti-ICE.
He's an incredible photographer. He was a photographer for the Californian for
Right.
decades, yeah.
He's a very nice man,
Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
and he's been out there at a lot of protests and started a lot of them.
And speaking of, he's been taking pictures of your protests because he took some of the photos that I was looking at of the different protests and stuff. And
Wow.
the 80s, you could see his name, photo by John Hart, yeah. So what are your plans for the future with music and with activism?
Well, I will stand up when I need to against
Roe versus
and for
Wade.
we got
to get that back. Yeah, there are things that we show up downtown for, but there hasn't been a lot of gay activism going on here in Bakersfield. Too much, But 2016, Trump, we're all over that shit.
Yeah.
Yes, so we haven't been the target of ICE like immigrants have been. It's been his focus, but we're on the list, definitely. The Project 2025 list, our issues, and the Supreme Court. It's a bit scary, so that hasn't come up yet, but
I imagine them trying to take marriage away from us. I really do.
I do too.
And yeah. And there'll be a lot more of us coming out to fight that one, and a lot of allies.
Yeah.
Yeah, things have changed since the days we're talking about, since the 70s and the 80s. In the 80s, we became activists. That was our mantra. And in the 90s, we said we're taking power, which means we're going to come out, we're going to act, not just be active. We're going to take positions of authority and make changes that way. It's a whole different world because more people are coming out means more people are free. And as far as music, I'm not singing the same way I did in the 80s or 90s, and I do sing with the Threshold Choir, meets at Mercy, and we sing songs of compassion and comfort, and we aren't exactly a choir, but even though that's our name, Threshold Choir. But we help. We go talk. We sing at like Hoffman Hospice and in the hospitals, and several groups have gone to different people's houses in groups of 3 and 4. This last week, there have been several things. So we get requests and go, and then we meet every week and every 2 weeks, and we practice.
I have severe arthritis in both my arms, and I had to give it up. And with giving that up, I didn't sing as much, and so I lost my voice.
Do you have any advice to people that want to get involved in activism?
Well, my advice is do it. If you feel it, do it. It's worth doing.
Even badly.
Even if you do it badly, just like Nancy Bailey said all those years ago. And we can do it much more efficiently and much more polished than we did back in those days, because we've learned a lot. We have a lot of support systems that help us be heard and be seen. And it's worth doing if you're doing it in your living room. Because what's at stake is everything that this country has stood for 250 years, and all of the things that we have had time to progress on issues. You know, we didn't start out having everybody vote. Women couldn't vote. Black America couldn't vote. And now we can vote. But why restrict voting? That's a problem. When you're restricting legitimate people from voting, that's a problem. And the founding fathers of this Constitution wanted freedom for all. And I think we're still learning what that means. And we're still evolving into our potential. And other countries in the world have learned from us. They're doing a better job in some of the kind of Scandinavian countries than we're doing, where people aren't experiencing as much violence for being different, and they aren't poor on the street, and the mental health issues are not running rampant and causing people to run around with guns. And they've done things with gun issues. And so, there's a lot of work to do. And so my advice is, if it's in your heart and in your mind to do it, find a way. You don't have to be like everybody else. Just find a way and do it.
Yeah, I would say just find that issue that pisses you off, that you know that isn't right, that knows it needs to be changed. Find a group that's doing that, and join them, and because the more the merrier. Many hands make light work type of thing. Join them, learn from them, stick with them, go, but if you don't want to join a group, you can just show up at the protest on your own with your little signs. It doesn't have to be huge. It's just, most of the time, these protests just need bodies. You don't even have to march. You don't have to. I don't march anymore. I sit in my little chair with my little sign, but I'm there. And that's the important thing, to show up.
Every small act is an act of bravery. All the things that caused me issues was being afraid, too afraid to do things. And the less afraid I was, the more brave I became to speak the truth and stand up for my values. And even though it cost me, and I think in my career, it was still worth doing. It was still worth doing. And that's what sometimes you have to think and make a decision about how you want to live your life and what values you want to have and support, because you have to live them, not just talk about them. I see so many people who say, oh, I believe in this and I believe in that, and then they're doing just the opposite in their daily lives. You got to integrate what you believe and who you are with your values. That's so important. because otherwise, you're not real.
We got 80 feet of waterline, nicely making way. In a noisy bar in Avalon, I tried to call you. But on the midnight watch, I realized why twice you ran away. Think about how many times I have fallen you, and you know it will. So we cheated and we lied and we tested, and we never failed to fail. It was the easiest thing to do. You will survive being bested. Somebody fine will come along, make you forget about